What's up, Joshter21? Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
good. We got a nice connection.
Nice. I'm
I'm
happy
so
to.
happy.
This is actually my first time ever on any IG Live. I've
Uh,
not used this feature before.
so we're partners in that department.
This is round one for you as well?
It is 5 p.m.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I was saying round one.
Oh, round one. Yeah.
Yeah, like your first time. It's five. It's five for me too over here.
All right. So the big day, the Mirror videos finally premiered. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, honestly. It's like this was one that I looked forward to releasing more than any other. I think in large part because I just like it was really a vision that I had. I was like, I feel like it'd be so cool to combine this idea of sort of animated 2D avatar that doesn't look like it's supposed to be animated and
Hmm.
this AR technology, just like walking through a trail. I don't know. It felt like it symbolized the sort of inner voices that I was trying to depict through the lyrics of the song in the exact way I was hoping.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about how it came together and how you decided on your collaborators for this project.
Yeah. Okay. So it's an interesting story, actually. I I got a random follow from this artist named Hota on Twitter, and I noticed that they were a friend of Junya Suzuki, who is the creator of the brand called Cloma, which I'm a huge fan of.
Hmm.
And they didn't have much of a big following or anything like that, like just not like just like a couple hundred followers. But I looked at their art and I was like, this is so uniquely my taste. It has that element of roughness and sketchiness, but it's also cute and it's like a little eerie and it feels like a lot of the time when I use the sort of high pitched voice that I use in my music, I associate it with like a sort of devil on your shoulder in a way. And I
Okay.
felt like the avatar really had that quality. And so I hit this artist up and I was like, would you be open to working together with me on this project? And that's how the avatar stuff came together. And then for the AR stuff, we actually tried a few different techniques before coming to the final way that we did it. The first thing that we did actually was I went out to that exact same trail and I took some videos of it. And I was working with this team called Active Theory that also made my website. They're like really cool at they're really good at making these like virtual immersive environments and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
our idea was they would take that video and it would allow them to like basically create this same trail in a digital environment and place all the objects, all the like augmented reality objects, like the avatars and all that stuff into that environment. And I would just walk through it with my phone and take a video that way. There ended up being like numerous problems with that method. Just like the tracking wasn't stable, like it was really hard to pre-plan out all the timings and stuff like that. People would walk by on the trail. And so the eventual way that we did it was I found this guy, his name escapes me right now. He's a super cool dude. He's like a professor of cinematography at Duke, and we went out to the trail together and filmed. Just he had like a shoulder mounted camera, and we filmed it together. And so we did all the AR stuff in VFX afterwards. Very technical, but um, that was uh, that was how we put that together.
Yeah, I've noticed in this video and your previous videos from Nurture, they all kind of have this natural element to them. Like you're either like in a body of water with some some natural like greenery in the background, or something else. So I was wondering if that theme is tied into your album pretty strongly, or if it's just the visuals that it's going to be representing.
That's a great question. I mean, oftentimes when I'm making art, it's like I sort of figure out what makes sense to me intuitively, and then afterwards I'm left to pick up the pieces and go, why was this compelling to me? And this is one of those cases where I just knew that the idea of kind of me in this box of nature, sort of trapped or confined in some way in some kind of void, but with like something really beautiful close to me, it just made sense. And I think the way that I interpret it now, because I don't think it's purely aesthetics, I think it has meaning, is it's like to me it's sort of like what nature represents to me in the context of the album Nurture is like things like health and things being as they should be. It's like a stand-in for things being okay. It's like that's how it is to me. It's like there's something just kind of beautiful and permanent and well about nature. And so I think that's why that imagery called to me. But I also didn't want to do this thing where like I'm a lumberjack in the forest, because that's not my life either. I live in a studio basically. I spend all my time making music, and sometimes I do feel a bit trapped there. And so like I wanted to depict my relationship with nature as being like almost like through a window. That was the very first way I described it, was like with this love and affinity for nature, but like through a window. And from there, Samuel Burgess Johnson and I, who's been creative director on a lot of these projects, not on this most recent video, but on the other 2 videos, we sort of came up with some of these concepts of like, you're in a little block of nature, you're in a little square. And interestingly, in the mirror video, I mean, technically, the Porter character is in a box too. So I like this imagery of that.
Gotcha. So the song that you premiered at your second Sky set, Look to the Sky, that's already become kind of like a fan favorite. Mm-hmm. What's the story behind that song, and when can your fans expect to hear it?
So yeah, the backstory is, I'm going to be like so elusive about the second part, like when's it coming out? I mean, I've definitely intentionally like teased people with that and tried to make it something that is like sought after for sure. Obviously, like the whole pandemic and stuff has compromised so many elements of the way I wanted to like roll things out. But so it's like plans and stuff have had to change. And actually I was supposed to premiere literally until the like 2 days before Secret Sky. My plan was to premiere Mirror during the set. And I just like, I thought about it, and I remember like parking in my driveway and calling my manager, Aaron, and just saying like, I think it needs to be Look at the Sky. Like I know Look at the Sky is a long way off from coming out, but like it feels like the most tonally appropriate thing for the moment. And it just felt like it was gonna be a hopeful message for people. Whereas Mirror is so caught up in the criticism, and so, the lyrics of Mirror are very much in the problem and not in the solution, And so, like, it just felt like Look at the Sky was the one. And the backstory of Look at the Sky was, it was like the lead melody, the da 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 da. Hold on, I'll do it better here. I wrote that in like 2016 or early 2017, and it was something that stayed with me. Like I was like, that melody needs to be used for something. And it was when I was taking a 3 or 4 month trip to Japan with Rika, because I was just like so stuck and so kind of unhappy at home in the studio and feeling really uninspired. We decided to take a trip, and it was while I was there that I came up with that chorus. And yeah, I just remember my manager Aaron flying in to meet us in Japan like halfway through that trip. And I remember showing him the song, and he was so jet lagged. He was like, oh, like that's pretty cool. And then the next day I showed it to him again, and he was like, dude, this is the craziest fucking thing you've ever written. Like, oh my God. I was like, all right, there we go. So that's a little bit about Look at the Sky. I'm like, but yeah, I guess that's the end of my answer.
So you said you spent 3 or 4 months in Japan?
Mm-hmm. I did.
So what are some of your favorite things to do in Japan? My wife and I just went last year, and we had an awesome time.
Awesome. Oh, I want to ask what you did. Where did you guys stay?
So we went to Tokyo. Then from there, we went to Kyoto, Osaka, down to Naoshima, over to Hiroshima, then back over to Tokyo.
Wow, you really did it. How long were you there?
For a month.
Wow, okay. That's like, it's so hard when people ask me about like what they should do when they have time in Japan, because I feel like you could easily do months in Tokyo alone. Definitely. It's definitely, Tokyo's definitely my favorite. I had so many of my like first memories of Japan there, and just I have so many friends over there, and I've like just playing over there is such a joy for me. I mean, this is such a lame answer, but my favorite thing to do over there is eat. Like, it's just like, it's like bliss 3 meals a day. There's so much good food. It's so diverse. It's like, there's just like, I love the feeling that in Tokyo, you will never visit every restaurant. It's not possible. Like, you can't go everywhere. And I love that sense of like infinity and limitlessness. I also, let's see, So on that trip, we were planning on just spending the whole time in Tokyo, and then also we had one other kind of like personal trip that we were doing there. But we did end up making like a day trip to Osaka because a friend of mine who goes by the name of Nanobi, who's a musician I really love, was playing this event in Osaka. And it was a very interesting event. It was like there were like 3 rooms, and they had people playing this electronic subgenre called Frenchcore, which is just super, super aggressive hardcore with like an offbeat bass. Here, I'm gonna do it. It's just like it's just like super driving really fast. Usually there's like some type of cutesy melody on top, and his sound is very different to that. But me and my girlfriend Rika went to go watch the show, and we just had like the best night ever. And yeah, that's a little bit about the Japan trip. But the thing that I don't let myself forget is I do remember having some days in the studio, even in Japan. Like I was running away from some of my studio angst, or trying to escape the feeling that like what I was doing wasn't good enough, or it wasn't going to work, or, you know, like I was a failure or past my prime or whatever, all those feelings. And I do remember I had days where I was in the studio in Tokyo, and I was on the floor. I was just like, I can't fucking do this. Like I just like everything is right now. I don't know how I could, like, what am I missing? Why can't I do this? And yeah, so I always remind myself that it's like, it's not the studio. It's not, I think in a lot of cases, just you have hard days, and it has to do with how you react to them and how you,
Yes. Speaking of hard days and reacting to them, have you found that quarantine has helped your creative process, hindered it, or there's like no difference?
It's been pretty much the same. I mean, I think the biggest thing that I noticed at first with the quarantine was it felt like my time dilation like stopped. Like I remember the first week of quarantine lasting so long, and you go, oh, this is nice because it's a solution to the sense that I've gotten getting older, which is that like time is going by way too fucking fast. And that went away very quickly. Like summer's over now. That feels really bizarre. But creatively, I was definitely, here's the thing, it's like, I had such a plan for how I wanted to do things with Nurture. Like I had 6 years to get it ready. And like 2 days after Something Comforting came out, that was that Wednesday, I think, where it was like Tom Hanks got it. The entire NBA called up their season. It was the first day where everyone in the United States knew to take it seriously. Before then, you were hearing it's just the same as the common cold mantra, and you know, there was a lot of people being dismissive of it. I think everyone kind of remembers the day when everyone was like, "This is a serious international crisis, really." And I remember being like, well, I'm glad I didn't release Something Comforting today. Well, first of all, this is so far down the list. I had way greater concerns just about the pandemic.
Yeah.
But with regards to my music, which is the thing I think we want to talk about. Like, I remember like being really scared. Like I was like, man, I wish I had waited another year to keep working on this. I wish I wasn't releasing this music in the middle of a pandemic. All the people in my life were saying like, this is the worst possible time to be releasing music. Like streaming is down everywhere. Like people can't think about it. Like, so I got pretty down for a couple months, just being like, oh, I've been working on this for 6 years, and it's like, it feels like I totally squandered the opportunity. I mean, you can see how far the obsession with the music goes for me, you know, to a level that's sometimes like a big problem, because it's like, why am I thinking about my career right now? But nowadays, I think like a lot of other musicians, I don't put pressure on myself to be productive during this time, which has helped me be quite productive. It was like, this is all bonus time. So I've made a lot of music, and I've had a lot of fun with it. And I've been enjoying my daily routine with Rika. And yeah, I've been feeling, I'd say, pretty happy overall, but just like really, really eager to play live. Oh my God, I want to play. I cannot wait to tour again. Like I'll never take it for granted again. Like it's really hard for me to remember a time where I would like be dreading to play a show. Like being like, oh, like I'm so tired, or I don't have the energy, or like what, like shut up, like you're getting to perform your music live, like have some gratitude. I'm not so much into the like shaming myself into behaving well, but like seriously, I I will never take that for granted again. I feel like the crowds won't, the audience members won't either. It's like, it's going to feel so special when we're able to do it again.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm in Toronto right now, and Toronto has a reputation of being like a pretty like screw-face city when it comes to live shows. But I can imagine like whatever, even if it's like a polka show, I feel like it's going to be jumping.
Dude, the polka's going off right now. Like, it's crazy. I need to hear that live. It slaps.
But yeah,
what's the reputation of Toronto in live music? I don't think I've encountered this.
Just that the audiences just aren't really that hype.
I had one really negative encounter in Toronto that I always remember. I mean, I love that city. I love like the food. Like, I think Toronto has an awesome vibe. But I had one really, really negative experience there. There was a club called like, was it like Governor or something like that, or Government?
Yeah,
Government
House.
Yeah, I had one situation where like there were like these security guards who were really, really harassing my friends and yelling at them when they were just like trying to pick up their jackets, I think, from like the coat check. Mm-hmm. And I remembered, like, you know, this is a few years ago, so I had some of that, like, you know, fuck this, like, they can't talk to my friends that way, and being like, you know, going to talk to the security and being like, what's going on? Like, can we work this out? And they were like really threatening towards me. They're like watch your back on the way to the tour bus. Like, the security of the venue I was playing was like, watch your back. Like I'm gonna call some people. And I was like, it was the most bizarre live. It was like, so definitely fuck that place. But the rest of Toronto,
it's closed now. So
okay, sweet. There you go. Yeah, that was such a weird experience. But every other experience I've had in Toronto has been so awesome.
So, I mean, we were just talking about live shows. Second Sky, that was a really unique and quite beautiful experience. Was Active Theory? Did they work on the design for that as well?
Oh, like the little digital auditorium?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So they designed that. It's like, it runs I think on the same engine as my website, which is nurture.re, which is like basically it's you might be familiar. It's these virtual environments that you and a friend can kind of fly around in together as these little squiggly avatars. And we thought, like, wouldn't it be super cool to extend that into a live experience? And it was interesting. I felt like for Secret Sky, it was kind of split between people who just watched it on YouTube and people who watched it in the digital auditorium. I think I was more geared towards YouTube and like checking the digital auditorium every once in a while. But it was like, they pulled that shit together so fast. Like, they're wizards. And one thing I'm really hyped about is that Active Theory, we're putting together, I mean, not putting together because it's done, but we're going to release soon the little mirror environment as well for the website. So you'll be able to listen to the song and experience this little environment. It should be really cool.
And was it difficult getting all of the bands to, you know, get their live streams connected and to get their own respective designs for it, or were they pretty much all on board? Yeah,
people were like champs about it. I've said this before, but I was so struck by how like incredibly high effort all the performances were. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I sort of thought that like I was gonna go, like, I thought that I put more effort into it than other people would be willing to, just because it's my event. But like thinking about the like Nowhere performance or KZ, or I mean all of them really. I also think about Hakushi Hasegawa's performance. Like, everybody put in such an intense effort. Well, I can't list everybody because if I forget one person, I'm gonna feel really bad. But like, people put so much effort into their visuals, and then for the visualizers on the website, we just asked everyone to submit a little visual loop. So the visual loop for mine, I just like cut together in Premiere from existing visuals that I had. But yeah, it was like, I felt so honored that everybody decided to come absolutely correct and like, you know, really make it into a moment. Because there's so many live streams, there's so many competing digital festivals, and I just really got the sense that people like did their best on it, and I love that. I love that for artists, because I know it's hard to make something really great. So just huge respect to everyone who played.
I just noticed one of the comments came up, referenced Vanessa Carlton's, was it 1,000 Miles? Yeah, 1,000 Miles.
Wait, hold on. Have you ever seen the video of Mac DeMarco playing 1,000 Miles at like some festival in Paris?
No, I haven't.
Required viewing. Nobody leave the stream, but afterwards go watch the video of Mac DeMarco playing 1,000 Miles in Paris. It's so funny. But here's the thing. I want to resist the meme status of 1,000 Miles a little bit, because that song to me is genuinely like really beautiful and heartfelt, and like I it was in, what movie was it in that was like
I don't remember. Yeah. I kind of associate it with those, like, you know, the Notebook style romantic comedies that came out.
I think it was in some comedy where like there was a scene where I can't remember it, but like that song definitely has a little bit of a meme status. But like, dude, that was like my musical awakening. Like I genuinely, it was like, I remember hearing her voice on the radio and hearing how like twinkly and sparkly the pianos were, and I was like forever changed. Like I really think you can feel the influence of that song in all of my music.
What are some other songs? Or I was wondering if you had like any specific.
Oh, it's White Chicks. The comments.
White Chicks.
White Chicks. That's right.
I miss White Chicks. God, what kind of film guy am I? Yeah, I was wondering if there are any like video game soundtracks that were really formative to you.
I mean, interesting. Like
other than DDR.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say like DDR obviously is the big one, because that was like another big element of my. That was when I was like, oh, electronic music is really cool. Let me think. What are some video game soundtracks that I really loved? I'm coming out blank right now. I mean, obviously Ocarina of Time was a big deal, and you can hear big references towards N64 VGM on Worlds. Dude, I'm gonna kick myself for this later. There's definitely like 100. I love. Here, I'm just gonna go through as many as I can think of. I love the Kirby Air Ride soundtrack. I love Super Smash Bros. Melee soundtrack. They're like orchestral renditions of a lot of Nintendo music. Wii Sports is lit. But like really, truly formative. Yeah, I'm like blanking. There's so many like mashups of my music with video game music soundtracks too. I'm letting those people down right now.
Did you ever play Chrono Cross?
I did not, but I've seen people mention Chrono Cross in like the comments of my songs and stuff. So does it feel kindred with my music?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, that was a big game for me growing up, and the soundtrack especially. Like, I'll just leave that on when I'm working sometimes.
Wow. Okay, I need to do that.
Yeah, when the new songs started to drop, I was like, it kind of triggered just like a little bit of like a spark of
Mirror.
Not Mirror specifically. I think Something Comforting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know, I got a lot of comments too about Something Comforting sounding like the game Harvest Moon, which is like a Nintendo. I think it's not a Nintendo game. It's a Japanese game. It's like a farming game, which I also haven't played. But I think that guitar sound, which is like the sound. There's something called sound fonts, which are in my music generally used to like replicate or sample the sounds of old video game music, and I use that as a huge motif on Worlds. And one of the reasons I didn't have Something Comforting as the first single was because I felt like it was going to throw people off to have the very first sound you heard from Nurture be a video game music sound, because like it's a very Worlds motif, and it's not something I've used very much at all on Nurture, whereas Nurture is so much more focused on like kind of organic sounds and real life sounds, or stuff that's been like, you know, modulated in a way where it's more unrecognizable. That's what I really like right now, is like sounds that don't have an obvious source to them. Sure. Something I would like, the big pad sound towards the end of Mirror is a sound that I'm absolutely obsessed with, because it's like I said, is it a saw? Is it a choir? Is it a synth? Like, I love how it just feels huge but a little bit unrecognizable. So with Nurture, I've been trying to like keep the palette mostly to stuff that sounds real or stuff that sounds like kind of unrecognizable.
Yeah, you've mentioned in a previous interview that you're for Nurture, you're sort of moving towards focusing on lyrics and more traditional like singer songwriting kind of direction. So I was wondering who some of the singer songwriters that you kind of look up to or inspired this album are.
That's a great question. I honestly, the very first one for me would, I mean, I would be lying if I didn't say Marian didn't inspire me a ton. Like he was, I remember in 2015 or so, I was so stuck with my music. I had no idea what direction I wanted to take it. And he was like, I'm going to start singing on my songs. And I was like, that's fucking awesome. And he started sending me all these tracks that would become the early Good Faith demos. And I was like, I just remember being blown away and insanely jealous at the same time. Like being like, I didn't know you could do this. This is so good. And like, there's no way I could do this. And so I have to give props to Marian because I don't think Nurture would have turned out the way that it did. I mean, I think both albums have influenced each other greatly because they were sort of developed in parallel. But I would say he started it, you know, and so Good Faith was a huge inspiration to me. I obviously Justin Vernon and Bon Iver is a huge deal to me. 22 Million was kind of there for me during a really hard time in my life, and but I think honestly this is another thing where I would be lying if I didn't say this. A lot of what I'm trying to do is really inspired by like J-pop and like Vocaloid music and stuff like that. A lot of the time I'm trying to make songs that make me feel the way that a lot of like J-pop does, but in English, that doesn't feel too imitative, but like has some of those longing chords. And so there's like that's like, I'm oftentimes trying to write these like J-pop melodies, but making it not like sound, I hate to say this, but make it not sound like cringe in English. And that's where there's a whole lot of work that goes in on the lyrics and vocal delivery and stuff like that to make it like feel like it's its own thing.
Yeah, let's go into that a little bit. I was wondering like how do you avoid it being cringe? Like what's something that you characterize as cringe when it comes to something like this?
Yeah, so like I shouldn't have used the word cringe because like I think that the whole concept of cringe drives so much bad behavior online, like so much shaming and so much just vitriol and elitism. And like, there's so many, oftentimes like, I remember that I responded to this recently. There was like some video that went viral of some girl, like a TikTok of a girl excitedly showing off how she decorated her bedroom. And it was something that, you know, some people might say is like bad taste, you know, and like, you know, it's like some people might say it was like a stressful room to be in because it was decorated in a way that was really extreme. And I just remember like seeing people on Twitter just like dragging the shit out of this girl, just mocking every aspect of who she was and everything about the way she had like done this thing that she was really excited about. And I feel like so much of that behavior is driven by like, doesn't she realize that like she's embarrassing herself? Like that sort of contemptuous cringe thing is like, I think it just makes people really hateful. And I think it oftentimes gives people a license. They feel a license to bully people and just shit all over them because like they're doing something that's considered cringy. So that's something that I really don't care for. And I wish I didn't use the word, but I make myself cringe in the studio all the time. Like, and it's like there's a weird X factor of cringe or like shame around lyric writing. Like if something, I think the things that make me cringe the most though are if I've written a line that feels on its surface really kind of passionate, but the meaning doesn't quite line up with how I really feel. That makes me bummed out in the studio. If I'm like, man, this sounds so good. The shape is perfect. It like if someone else sang this would be awesome, but this isn't how I feel. And then another thing for me that's a little bit like not my taste in songwriting is like if the emphasis feels off, like if you feels like you're emphasizing the wrong words, or if like the wrong syllable gets emphasized. Like oftentimes a melody will emphasize a syllable that's not, excuse me, the predominant syllable of the word. So if you were singing the word predominant and the melody was like predominant, it would be like, it just feels off. So there's a whole lot of dancing around like, how do I make it fit this melody? How do I make the meaning connect and be truthful? And also like, how do I make it like, well, I guess those are the two main challenges, but it's really hard. It's really like lyrics are just pain for me, but like so rewarding when you get that lyric, when you come up with that lyric and you're like, and it all makes sense. It's like, oh dude, it's like I can coast off that for 3 days. Like I can just, if I write a lyric or a chorus that I'm excited about, I'll just sing it to myself for 3 days and just like, I can just be completely content for 72 hours. So lyrics are a place where there's a lot of frustration and difficulty and struggle to be found, but also a whole lot of joy.
Mm-hmm. When you're stuck on a lyric or some other part of the song, is there some sort of technique that you use to jump that, to break through, or do you just sort of like step back and let it come to you a bit more naturally?
I have a lot of different techniques, and I think that's part of, like, I think it's a similar thing with mental health. Like, part of the way you deal with suffering isn't like you have this one technique, like, oh, if I'm just mindful, or if I just make a list of the things I need to do today or break it. Like, what you're kind of doing is developing a toolkit of things that you can use to help yourself. So it's like meditation itself isn't the sole mental health breakthrough, but it's it can be a part of a greater kit of stuff that you use to help yourself through something. And like, that's part of what improving at everything in life is like. And it's the same with lyrics for me. It's like, sometimes the key for me is I will take everything that I've written and I'll just jot down a bunch of brain dump, and I'll translate it into Russian and Google Translate and translate it back in English and see if I come back with something interesting. Ooh. Or sometimes it's like I'll babble nonsense to the melody I want on the microphone through insane processing, like a huge amount of multiband, a huge amount of distortion, auto-tune, and see if I can pick up words in the babble that make sense. Mirror was like that, where I heard the sound. I heard in the sound of what I sang through babble. It was just like blah, 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 whatever, like just random syllables. Another thing I do a lot of is if I ever have a part of my internal dialogue or I have a thought that feels poetic, I'll write it down. Mm-hmm. And so like if I'm trying to write a lyric, I'll literally sing that lyric through every little thought I've had, like see if I can make all these thoughts I've had fit. It's like, I have 100 of these. There's a lot of time spent with rhyme dictionaries and thesauruses and stuff as well. But it's like, it's a toolkit. And like, sometimes it's the 15th thing that you try that gives you that breakthrough.
Mm-hmm. Some other electronic musicians like Actress and Holly Herndon have used AI, just like very rudimentary AI systems in their composition. Is that something you've ever been tempted by or interested in?
Absolutely. Like I love randomness with the way that can compound creativity. Like I love anything where I can, like, I'll just take a sound and run it through some weird processing and let that go for like an hour and just change stuff without listening and listen back to it and hear if I made something interesting. I'm a huge fan of like introducing chaos into the creative process, because oftentimes the chaos can generate something that's so much better than what you would have willed yourself, mm-hmm. So, I would love to try some stuff that experiments with the idea of AI, but like, I think, and I'm definitely excited about those tools, especially in the short term, for giving a musician a chance to be a bit of a like curator too, on top of a creator. Like if you had an AI that could spit out 1,000 different things and you can select the good ideas from that. Like sometimes I feel like my own process is that way, where I'm just like throwing spaghetti at the wall and my only job is to recognize what's good.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering if in the past 6 months, as an electronic composer, you've noticed any sort of shift, I suppose, in how electronic music is seen in the mainstream, because you've got like that remix of the St. John song "Roses," which is like a top 10 hit. Thanks to its prevalence on TikTok.
Yeah, that's such a weird hit. I'm not gonna lie, that song is really strange to me.
Yeah. So I was wondering if you were getting any sort of different pressures from the industry, or perhaps any new meetings where perhaps people weren't interested before.
I'm remember, this is a negative story, but I remember there was somebody who was kind of formerly in my team, and I remember like finally feeling like I had had a breakthrough with Nurture, and like showing them my album, or sorry, talking excitedly about what the album was going to be, and this person's reaction was like, yeah, okay, cool, like the industry's moving away from albums, but like what you should really do is make some instrumentals, because like we're seeing lo-fi hip-hop channels doing great on YouTube, and like we need to make sure we get some remixes out of like developing countries as well, because like those will boost your numbers. And I just remember being like I don't relate to you at all. Like I've lost all interest in anything you have to say to me, because like that is so anti-artist, and so like it was just really made me feel bad. And so my with regard to like TikTok and stuff like that, it feels so alien to me. Like I just I maybe something I do will stick on TikTok. I think it's interesting. Like the clips of music that TikTok produces are like, when I hear like a TikTok song, it makes sense to me right away. I'm like, oh, that's like a crazy dopamine hit. Like everything on TikTok is. It's like the first second of a TikTok is somebody like smashes down a door and like points the camera in the mirror and says something really shocking right away. It's like so instantaneous, everything on that site is. Or it'll just be somebody like impossibly attractive, like saying something provocative. And it's like, when I hear like the music that blows up on TikTok, I'm like, this makes sense why humans crave this. Like it's like candy, you know? Like for better or for worse. And in a weird way, I think it's kind of meritocratic. It's like, you can't control this machine. It's like decided by the human subconscious. It's not the music that I want to make, but it's like, yeah, like I feel like every TikTok song has something in common that I can't quite put my finger on.
Getting back to Nurture, I want to know if you're still writing songs for the album right now, or if it's all pretty much wrapped up.
Oh wow, that's a tough question, because I haven't revealed this, but like, yeah, there's a few things that I'm altering now. There's a couple things that I'm still working on. Like it could be ready to drop like tomorrow, but I did want to take the opportunity of the quarantine to, like, I was like, if stuff is gonna, I just want to take this time that I have, because like the machine is so much more flexible now, and you can make these updates at the last minute. So yeah, I'm still working on stuff. I'm working for mostly stuff for post Nurture, but there's a few things where I thought like I can improve this.
Okay. Is one of those post Nurture things Virtual Self?
That's a great question. I'll tell you this about like Virtual Self. Like I haven't been working on Virtual Self recently. There's a pretty big library of unreleased Virtual Self music, some of which has been played live and some of which hasn't. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't think Virtual Self is like done. But I don't have a plan to continue it right now either. You know what I mean? I think I'll come back to it. I think I'll come back to it one day when I have a fresh perspective on it. But stop asking me hard questions like this.
Sorry.
Stop forcing me to reveal stuff.
Okay. All right. Let's take it back to Netflix. What are you watching on Netflix?
Oh my God. I watch a lot. This isn't Netflix, but I watch a lot of What Would You Do with John Quinones on ABC.
Oh, yeah.
This is my favorite. Yeah. It's like my favorite TV show. It's so like, something about it is the coziest thing in the world to me. G Jones asked, can I get a zip file of the unreleased Virtual Self? Maybe you can, G Jones.
Send it to me, please, G Jones.
Something that I think is really true of my music, though, is I really truly believe that I pick the highlights. Like I really like I think a lot of my unreleased music is just worse than the music that I put out. Like I think about it all really carefully and put a lot of heart and time and care into all of it. So like, yeah, some people might disagree, but that's how I see it.
So given that, what was behind your decision to release She Heals Everything from Worlds a couple of weeks ago?
It was a complete impulse decision, basically. It was like I saw all of the hype that was happening around the anniversary of the Worlds album, and I probably should have been clear about why I released it, because like I really didn't want people thinking that that live edit was like the direction I was taking with Nurture. Like Nurture couldn't be more different from that song. That song still lives so much in Worlds territory. It's part of the Worlds live show. But I just was like, I don't know. I was in a weird mood. I was just like, I was seeing what people were saying about Worlds, and I was just like, this would be really exciting just to put this on SoundCloud out of nowhere and not overthink it, and just as a big like thank you to people who have continued to care about that album that was at such a pivotal moment in my life. That means a lot. Like if I go back and listen to Worlds, like any of my work, I hear things that I would change, but I also remember exactly how I hoped people would feel about it. I remember exactly how I wanted to give people this sense of escapism and to make this ode to the intense beauty of things that are fictional, and how meaningful like that form of creativity can be in people's lives. And like I really truly know that people got the message and that it worked, and that people understood me, and that's always what I'm trying to do. So it was like 50% thank you for continuing to care about me and about Worlds, and it was a way of saying like, I'm not over that album. I don't regret Worlds. I'm not too good for it. Like I really stand by it. And thank you. And then the other 50% was, this would make my day really interesting if I just dropped this out of nowhere. So my entire team was like texting me like, what's going on? Like the reporter just dropped something, and there's no press release, or just put it on, just put it up.
So if you had to place She Heals Everything in the original Worlds track list, where would you put it?
God, this is going to annoy people. I don't have the Worlds track list memorized, actually, which is so bizarre to me, because like I'm obsessing over the Nurture track list every single day. Sure. Like with Worlds, I was on this insane confidence high where I was just like, I felt invincible. And it's not a state that I get into like really ever. I think it's the only time in my life I felt so sure of what I was doing. I was like, this is like the future of my music. This is exactly what I want to do. I don't care if anybody likes it. Like, this is how I'm going to do it. And I'm pretty sure that with the Worlds track list, I made it. I maybe listened to it once, and I was like, that's good enough. Like, the songs are going to stand out.
Wow.
You can see the difference in how much like pressure I put on myself then versus now. Now I'm just like, I'll change a song in the Nurture order every week and be like, is it better? And but I also think that like Nurture is an album that has a lot more care put into it than Worlds, and a lot more attention to detail. And Worlds was like this burst of inspiration over the course of a couple of years, and Nurture has been this like labor of love and this real challenge where I'm like trying to do something that I didn't know if I was capable of, which is the singing and lyricism, and I mean, beyond that, like Nurture came after this intense period of creative struggle. So I don't know where I put that in there. I mean, maybe I found it. I revisited Worlds recently. I was like, wait, Fellow Feeling is the second to last song. I didn't like. I don't remember it being like that. But maybe somewhere around Fellow Feeling. Like maybe before Fellow Feeling. Yeah. Cashmere Cat's a spit of freestyle. Come on.
I'm seeing the name Mike Wazowski a lot in the comments.
Yeah, don't, never mind that. Don't worry about that. Fuck that guy. You don't even want to get into it.
He's the guy from Monsters Inc., right?
Allegedly. No, it's like a meme from these Half-Life Alyx streams that I do. I mentioned at one point about how I think like I find Mike Wazowski really disgusting, and my hatred of Mike Wazowski was spawned from this YouTube video. Well, at the time it wasn't a compilation YouTube video, but there were like multiple videos of Mike Wazowski at Disney World with the costume falling apart. Like the costume would like trip, and it would like okay, so the belly is where the eyeball would be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the person would be like doing a dance in the Mike Wazowski costume and trip and fall and land on its eyeball. And like I just felt like evolution would not permit such a monstrosity. Like you can't have a creature that falls and lands on its eyeball. It's just not like
practical.
It's not practical. It's not survivable. And there's all these other videos of like Mike Wazowski costumes where the arms are falling off, or like they fall and they can't get up. And so like Mike Wazowski became a bit of a meme with me and my brother. And then we went to Japan at one point, and like we had a bit of a running joke. This is like 2012 that I hated Mike Wazowski. And at that time, I guess Mike Wazowski was like a trend. Like everywhere in Harajuku, there'd be like Mike Wazowski plushies everywhere. And like I remember Nick just being like, "Oh, like look, Mike Wazowski," and like I got really fucking tired of it by the end of it. I was like, I'm like sick of this Mike Wazowski thing. And you know, egg on my face, I opened my big mouth during a live stream about like hating that fucker, and now it's all I hear about. Actually, there was an incident a couple of days ago where I was live streaming this game called Stride. It's a VR game. It's like I don't know if you're familiar with Mirror's Edge, but it's like it's a game where you're like running on top of skyscrapers.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I haven't played it.
There's a VR equivalent of that, and I made a bet that if I didn't beat my previous score, I would like change my profile picture to Mike Wazowski, and I had lost the bet. So I had, but like the way it worked was like once I beat my score again, I was able to fix it back. So that's the Mike Wazowski shit.
If you want to see some really bad costumes, Google disintegrating Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie costumes.
Oh my god!
They have not been kept in storage that they should have been. They look really bad.
Yeah, I wonder what things like that we're producing right now. Like with just like all the mass consumption, what is something that's just going to degrade horrifically over the next 20 years and just be unrecognizable?
Oof.
Yeah.
So I've already taken up so much of your time. Just to close things out, who are some of your dream collaborations?
Well, I mean, obviously Justin Vernon. That would be the big one, but it's like I feel like I've talked about him so much that it'll probably never work with me. So I just got to own the fact that I really love his music. I would really love to work with. I've talked about this before. Doing anything with like Carrie Pamu. Pamu would be a big dream for me, just because like her music was partially responsible for getting me back into Japanese music, and it just hit me at a really great time in my life. So that would be a big deal to me. Would love to work with a pianist named Takagi Masakatsu. I'd love to like produce a song. Yeah, those are my top three.
Okay, great. Porter Robinson, thank you so much for speaking with me for almost an hour. Congratulations on the new music video. I've heard some of your unreleased music from Nurture. It is fantastic. I love it. And
I'm scared to ask about that.
No, it's great, and can't wait for your fans to hear it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Take care. Thanks again.
Bye-bye.